Assalamualaikum and greetings to Dr. Aziz. Today we'll be presenting case study 4, which is regarding the impacts of COVID-19 and tax rate elements towards the two companies that we've chosen. On the next slide, you can see our team members, which is me, Ariff, Asyraf, and Mohammed Zubair. Right, on the context of the presentation, we'll be presenting the introduction, findings, impact, action, tax elements, and the conclusion that will be prepared. Right, on the introduction, on the first company that we've chosen to break down is MCOP Properties Berhad. MCOP Properties Berhad is an investment holding company which engages in property development and engineering services. The company was incorporated in 1965 and it is based in KL. The company's business includes financial services, property development, property management, engineering, information technology, and consumer goods and services. The group has three main operating segments, which is the business properties segregated geographically into Malaysia and also the overseas properties, and also contracting and renewable energy segment. And next, I'll pass to Mohammed Zubair.
Thank you, Daniel. I'll present the Telecom Malaysia Berhad. Telecom Malaysia Berhad, or TM, is the national connectivity and digital infrastructure provider and Malaysia's leading integrated telco. The company founded in 1984, beginning as the National Telecommunication Company for fixed line, radio, and television broadcasting services. It has evolved to become the country's largest provider of broadband services, data, fixed line, pay television, and network services. TM ventured into the long-term evolution space with the launch of TM Go, its first 4G offering. TM's 850 MHz service was rebranded as Unify Mobile in January 2018. TM is divided into four segments. The first is retail business, which provides a range of telecommunication services and communication solutions to small and medium businesses, as well as corporate and government customers, except for consumer business, which provides only voice and internet and multimedia services. Next is wholesale business, which provides a range of telecommunications services delivered over its networks to other licensed network operators. Next is global business, which provide inbound and outbound services for a range of telecommunications. Last but not least, shared services or others, which include shared services division or business faction divisions and subsidiaries that do not fall under above line of business. TM also won many awards such as Best Employee Awards and HR Asia Best Companies to Work for in Asia in 2021. TM also have a group which is sound familiar to us such as Unify, TM Group, and TM1. Our university MMU is also an initiative from TM to help students to create their future. That's all for me. I'll pass back to the next presenter.
Right, on the findings of MCOP Properties, right, during the year 2020, MCOP was severely impacted due to the COVID-19 outbreak. The major issue of the outbreak in regards to the economy is the lockdown imposed by the governments of all the nations, including MCOP's overseas and local businesses. MCOP faced drastic reduction in profitability due to the slow economy brought out by the lockdown, as it brought cautious investors and consumers sentiment. Example that can be seen was the net profit margin from MCOP. In 2019, they have roughly of a 30% in net profit margin, and which was brought down drastically to a mere 2% in net profit margin. Nevertheless, prior to the COVID situation, MCOP had been going on a good momentum in achieving sales target.
So for telecom, during the COVID-19 outbreak, the telecommunications sector continued to face intense competition, pricing pressures, and a decline in legal services. As the virus spread worldwide, containment measures such as nationwide lockdowns and travel restrictions led to uncertainties in the demand and supply chain. As the nation's telecommunication provider, Telecom was ready to support the country's telecommunication needs, ensuring connectivity and digital solutions. Telecommunications have been vital to keep people connected and is now essential to Malaysia's socio-economic recovery. Telecom have took decisive actions to prioritize the safety of their employees and customers while protecting their business. This new normal situation have been perceived by Telecom as an opportunity to accelerate their business in a digital sector.
Moving on towards the problems that MCOP faced. MCOP faced a slow business due to the imposed lockdown, as mentioned before, and as people were in panic, investors too were cautious, resulting in a reduction in share prices, which impacted MCOP as they are an investment holding company. With slow business, profitability of MCOP is also reduced. Operations had to be suspended due to lockdown in other countries, such as Spain, which they have delayed the construction activities on MCOP's properties.
For telecom, firstly, we can see that there are lower sales volume and revenue due to COVID-related issue faced by the customer. These delays in the closure of new sales, especially for international customers that were significantly impacted by the global pandemic. It is a challenge to employees' motivation and productivity levels as they have to adapt to these new remote working environments. Next, the lockdowns and movement restrictions is crucial to containing the virus, has significant impact across the value chains and industries, especially for the telecommunication sector. During the first MCO period, telecom experienced delays in material and equipment delivery, and also for civil mechanical engineering demand works have to put on hold. This disruption impacted the network progress and contributed to delayed service delivery to customers. Hence, the late revenue realization and opportunity loss. Then lastly, the prolonged service restorations due to social distancing requirements have impacted the customer experience. There are delays in order fulfillment and assurance for both those domestic and international segments due to movement restrictions. This result to setbacks in the delivery of infrastructure, material, and other shortages due to contractors' inability to work on site. This is also impacted the new installations and configurations of the telecom services.
All right, moving on towards the action, the preventive measures and initiatives taken by MCOP. Firstly, both internally and externally, MCOP has prioritized the protection and safeguard of their employees by maintaining the highest standards of health, safety, and hygiene by enforcing the necessary precautions in the workplace, such as the use of face masks, hand sanitizers, social distancing, and also staggered office working hours. For Action 2, they also had assisted deserving tenants with rental discounts, deferment, or restructuring to ease their financial burden during the pandemic. Now, MCOP is also focusing on the next year, which is 2021, to sell their overseas projects in Madrid. And they are also planning to nurture current projects by refining consented planning. And also they have several other projects will be undergoing asset enhancement initiatives in preparation of economic recovery. And lastly, MCOP is to continuously monitor their investments in all the major cities and actively engage with their joint venture partners to address the issue of COVID-19.
So for telecom, there are 4 actions that they have been implemented to improve their business strategy. Firstly is to improve customers' experience via key campaigns such as Unify Try Me and Unify Your World campaigns launched during the COVID-19 year. The range of these solutions offered to provide the best of home and mobile broadband with entertainment at discounted price, combining TV content to suit the lifestyle devices, especially during the COVID-19. So next, they have immediately set up a telecom COVID-19 crisis response team and activated crisis communication management team. This is to overcome daily hurdles, which is also providing leadership oversight, monitoring, and execution of the required controls in managing the pandemic and keeping their stakeholders regularly informed. These proactive measures have been undertaken since COVID-19 and implementing SOPs in place and communicated to Warga Telecom nationwide. This is crucial to business continuity while minimizing their service disruptions and keeping their employees and customers safe. Next, and then Telecom have launched Cloud Alpha, the only Malaysian-owned aggregator and provider of end-to-end cloud infrastructure and services for their enterprise and public sector customers. Without online solutions, Malaysian people would not have been able to work and live at a safe distance, which would have resulted in a greater economic contraction. As a result, Malaysia Communication and Multimedia Commission reported that 70% of internet usage moved to residential areas as more people work from home, with a similar trend that other nations also use. This accelerated adoption of fixed broadband and other digital solutions open opportunities for telecom berhad, such as in e-commerce, online learning, and other particular works that needs the internet. And lastly, Telecom focus on modernizing their fiber network to cater the future for broadband and data expansion, as well as mobile backhaul to support 4G networks and paving the way for 5G. Other than that, they also focus on preventing network outages by managing power-related issues and cable cuts. As a result, they help achieve over 30% reduction in network-related complaints.
Now I'll explain about tax element of MCOP properties. Tax rate for 3 years is maintained at 24% due to profit after tax is more than 600,000 ringgit. Based on the analysis, there is no changes in pre- and post-COVID era. There is no additional taxes being taxable to MCOP itself during 2020 and 2021. Thus, the tax calculation remains the same. Tax expense is the aggregate amount of current and deferred taxation. Current and deferred taxes are recognized as income or expense in profit or loss, except to the extent that the taxes relate to items recognized outside profit or loss, either in other comprehensive income, directly in equity, or a business combination. Current tax is expected tax payable on taxable income for the year, computed using tax rates enacted or substantively enacted by the end of the reporting period. Deferred tax is provided using the liability method on temporary differences at the end of the reporting period between the carrying amounts of assets and liabilities and the amounts attributed to those assets and liabilities for taxation purposes. Deferred tax liabilities are recognized for all temporary differences, while deferred tax assets are recognized for all deductible temporary differences and unutilized tax losses and unused tax credits to the extent that it's probable that future taxable profit will be available against which the asset could be utilized. In calculating chargeable tax for the financial year, they need to go through all line items under expenses and other revenue section. There is some line item that could not be deductible. According to the laws, the reason why it cannot be deductible is due to the fact that in order to get line item deductible, it must be related to business. Hence, that is why there is a chargeable tax for the financial year if the company achieves profit.
So the next tax element would be for Telekom Malaysia. The overall improvement in the group's profitability during the current financial year at TM company level as well as subsidiaries saw the group's consolidated effective tax rate to dip below the statutory rate of 24%. The rate is pre-COVID era, which was in 2019, a well-noted improvement compared to the effective tax rates in previous financial years, which were affected by tax losses at subsidiaries, for which no deferred tax asset has been recognized. Consequently, the group's profit before tax and zakat for 2020 was 1 billion at 38.2% increase from 925 million which is recorded in 2019. With lower tax charges resulted in a profit attributable to equity holders of the company increasing 60.6% from 632 million in 2019 to 1.16 billion in 2020. The current income tax is charged calculated on the basis of the tax laws enacted or substantively enacted at the end of the reporting period in the countries where the company and its subsidiaries and associates operate and generate taxable income, which is presented. Management periodically evaluates positions taken in tax return with respects to these situations in which applicable tax regulation is subject to interpretation. For the post-COVID era, the group closed the year with 368.9 million tax and zakat charges. Zakat contribution for 2020 was 7.1 million compared to 6.2 million in 2020. Aside from the increase in the group's profit tax, the increase in tax charges was partly in the view of group's recognition of higher tax from the application of the 33% Cukai Makmur tax on the group's deferred tax liabilities of the financial year end. This is the effect of the post-COVID era for tax rates, together with the impairment losses recognized during the year on network assets for which deferred tax assets were not recognized. This led to the group's effective tax rate increase from 21.6% in 2020 to 29.0% in 2021, excluding zakat. Consequently, the 115 million increase in the group's net financial cost during the foreign exchange translation losses on borrowings and lower interest income for the year, together with a higher effective tax rate partly from the group's early provision of the Cukai Makmur tax, led to a 11.9, which is 120.8 million reduction in profit. Next slide is for the tax ethics. Tax ethics refers to a taxpayer's moral obligation to pay taxes and is affected by relationship between the taxpayer as a citizen, as a company, and the government. Tax ethic and tax evasion are often used interchangeably. Tax evasion, however, refers to a person actively trying to avoid paying tax, while tax ethics refers to all non-monetary incentive to comply with tax legislation. A higher value of ethics will lead to a better tax compliance. Furthermore, tax literacy will also a very important factor affecting compliance. Proper tax education and awareness leads to better planning on the part of the taxpayers, which leads to greater compliance. Tax evasion is an economic and social phenomenon that has always been in the center of the public policy. Taxpayer commits tax evasion when they believe that public money is not allocated efficiently from the government to the citizen. Consequently, transparency is of utmost importance to taxpayers in order for them to believe that their contribution to the public income is important and necessary. Therefore, it is very important for the state to have a legal framework that holds politicians accountable for their decisions and actions regarding the management of the public money. So in conclusion, financial performance is a complete evaluation of companies' overall standing in categories such as assets, liability, equity and expenses, revenue, and overall profitability. It is measured through various business-related formulas that allow users to calculate exact details regarding a company's potential effectiveness. For both companies, they are doing well in their financial performance for their tax and their performance overall. Even though during pre-COVID era and post-COVID era, they have successfully tackled the economy. So that's all from us. Thank you.